So I just want to briefly raise a topic and not really get too far into it, and that has to do with the privilege inherent in even being able to make a web series or watch web series. That when we talk about things like racial representation, I think we've never really addressed the fact that there is privilege involved in it. Definitely when it comes to kind of outside of the Anglosphere, you're talking about you have to know English pretty well, the default language of the fandom, and the default language kind of for what you're expected to know is English, like the internet. You have, restrictions in terms of you have to have good internet. If you don't have internet, you can't watch web series. To produce a web series, we forget that there is privilege involved in terms of money, in terms of resources, in terms of access, in terms of the ability to even set aside the time for this, that not everyone can do that, and it's not just inherently obvious that anyone can make a web series. Like, even the most fan-produced, labor-of-love independent web series, at the end of the day, have had to make ultimately financial sacrifices, whether in terms of saying, I am not going to work this summer and instead I'm going to make a web series. I am going to, ask my friends to help out and not pay them. Things like that, which I know from having spoken with people from around the world who want to make web series and say, I can't because I don't have the resources. Sometimes even just getting a camera is not so trivial. It's not obvious that someone has access to these things and good enough internet to be able to upload videos and whatever it may be. There is privilege at play here, which I think we have never actually discussed or looked into. So I'm not going to do the discussing in this video. I just want to raise it in the context of the discussion of racial representation and the fact that, it's harder for marginalized groups to speak up, and so I would love to hear from the fandom. I would definitely love to hear from kind of the various levels of sort of marginalized groups within our fandom. Definitely for all of us outside of the Anglosphere, I think that we have a slightly unique perspective in terms of recognizing the that privilege. But also within the Anglosphere, there are varying levels of sort of racially imposed privilege, and so I think that is something we need to talk about and please discuss.